Lucille was thrilled as he rushed to tell his boss the good news. He finally managed to get a meeting with a client, but his excitement didn't last long. The meeting went terribly, leaving him feeling crushed and doubting himself. Despite the failure, Lucille refused to give up. He believed there were many more clients to meet, and he was determined to reach his goals no matter how tough it got. Soon after, his boss approved his plan, filling him with relief. He worked hard, and after many challenging weeks, he finally met his targets. Lucille felt an overwhelming joy, knowing he was closer to the promotion he had dreamed about. He was ready to celebrate his achievements. However, on his way back, chaos broke out nearby. People started screaming, and he saw a man running from the police. Before Lucille could react, the man tripped and accidentally fired a gun. A sharp pain hit Lucille's chest, and everything went dark. His last thought was disbelief. This couldn't be how it ended. In the darkness, Lucille heard a mysterious voice offering him a second chance in a new world called Galdardia, a place filled with magic and monsters. Confused but curious, Lucille accepted. Suddenly, he found himself standing under a sky where a dragon flew above. He looked down at his simple, rustic clothes. His old business suit was gone. The voice told him to say, "Status open." And when he did, a game-like menu appeared, showing his name and new abilities. Feeling excited, Lucille picked skills like Assess Mastery, Martial Arts, and Magic Control. Ready to start this new journey, he walked towards a bustling city full of people. At the city gate, he realized he didn't have any identification. Thinking quickly, he explained he was a healer from a small village looking to train in the city. Just then, a girl named Lumina appeared and offered to help. She guided him through the city streets to the Healers Guild. The place was lively, filled with people and energy. Lucille nervously filled out his registration form with his details and handed it to the attendant, Kuru. As he waited, he observed everything around him, eager to learn about this new world. Kuru soon returned with a test for him. She gave him a crystal and asked him to channel his magic into it. Lucille's heart raced. This was his first chance to see if he could use magic. Concentrating hard, he focused on his skill, Magic Control. To his amazement, the crystal glowed warmly, showing he had some power. Kuru noted his holy magic ability, making Lucille hopeful, but also nervous since he had no formal training. Lucille decided to try a basic healing spell. He took a deep breath, focused his energy, and called out, "Heal!" But nothing happened. Frustrated but determined, he reminded himself that he was just beginning. He tried again, this time sensing a small movement of magic inside him. It drained his energy quickly, so he knew he needed to practice more. From then on, Lucille created a new routine for himself. He practiced his magic in small bursts, resting in between. Each little success boosted his confidence. He wasn't just dreaming of a new life. He was building one step by step. His goal was clear: to master his magic and make a difference in this new world. As he was deep in thought, Monica, another guild attendant, brought him some food and reminded him to take care of himself. Her kindness felt comforting in this unfamiliar place. Lucille felt a spark of hope. He was on his way to a fresh start filled with magic, challenges, and endless possibilities. Lucille took a deep breath and focused hard, feeling the magic flow inside him. He closed his eyes and concentrated, calling upon his power. A warm light began to glow from his hands as he cast a healing spell. Within moments, the wound in front of him disappeared completely. Lucille opened his eyes and felt a wave of relief and happiness wash over him. He had finally succeeded. Nearby, Monica watched and gave him a cheerful clap. It was clear he had mastered the healing spell. But then, she held out her hand with a cheeky smile, asking for a silver coin as payment. Lucille, a bit confused but amused, quickly handed over the coin. Before he could ask what was next, Monica seemed to realize something. She gasped and returned the coin right away, apologizing. Lucille had been sent by Luminasan, and everything had already been arranged for him to stay in the room for 10 days. Lucille was amazed at how respected Luminasan seemed to be. He learned that she was the captain of a new female paladin group in the church. He felt grateful to have met such a powerful ally. Just as he was about to leave, a loud voice called out to him. It was Bazan and his group of adventurers, the same rough-looking men he had met before. Lucille quickly bowed, apologizing if he had caused any trouble earlier. Bazan's friend joked around, making the atmosphere lighter. Suddenly, a young adventurer rushed in, looking tired and beat up. He ran straight to Bazan, explaining that they had made a big mistake on a mission. Bazan's expression turned serious, and he scolded them for taking dangerous tasks as beginners, but it was clear he was more worried than upset. Watching this unfold, Lucille couldn't help but think about the situation of healers in this world. He remembered Monica's warning that the Healers Guild no longer had full control over clinics or individual healers. This motivated Lucille even more to make a difference as a trustworthy healer. He was ready to help people and prove his worth. He was called to help a group of injured adventurers. He took a deep breath, his nerves making his magic feel unsteady at first. He struggled, but with focus and determination, he managed to calm himself down. Slowly, the wounds of the adventurers began to heal under the warm light of his spell, and the look of relief on their faces made it all worth it. Feeling drained from using so much magic, Lucille nearly collapsed, lying down to catch his breath. The adventurers thanked him sincerely, grateful for his help. Later that night, as he lay in bed, Lucille thought about everything that had happened. He realized there was so much he still needed to learn. If he wanted to become a strong healer, he needed more training and to improve his skills. The next morning, Lucille arrived at the Adventurers Guild, filled with excitement. It was a lively place, bustling with people from all over. At the registration desk, a friendly rabbit girl named Nanela helped him sign up. She explained the rules. Lucille could earn money by taking requests but could face penalties if he failed. Hearing this, Lucille felt determined to give it his best effort. Nanela introduced him to Broad, the guild's chief instructor, who agreed to train him in martial arts in exchange for healing services. This was exactly what Lucille needed, a chance to learn how to defend himself. Broad explained that Lucille would get a small wage, with the cost of training taken out of it. Lucille left the guild feeling hopeful and ready to prove himself. That evening, Lucille sat alone in his room, thinking about how much he needed to work harder to gain the trust of the guild and become better at magic. Monica brought him his meal and congratulated him on his new journey. Lucille felt a wave of determination wash over him. He knew he was on the right path and was excited to see what the future held. Early the next morning, Lucille returned to the guild, feeling both nervous and excited. The guild was filled with seasoned adventurers, and he could feel their eyes on him, whispering about the new healer in their midst. He ignored the stairs and made his way to the underground training hall, amazed by the wide, open space that was all his for the session. Broad arrived shortly after, looking serious and focused. He warned Lucille that the training would be tough and unforgiving, but this only made Lucille more eager. He knew this was his chance to get stronger. Broad's commands were firm as he put Lucille through a series of movements, pushing him to his limits. Lucille felt the strain with every punch and kick, quickly becoming exhausted. But he pushed through, driven by a sense of satisfaction he hadn't felt before. Broad noticed his determination and kept urging him to move with precision, not just brute force. Lucille listened closely, absorbing every word. When his energy finally ran out, Lucille dropped to the ground, panting but proud of his progress. Broad acknowledged his effort, reminding him that learning to move well was key to survival. Lucille nodded, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. He knew he was taking steps toward his goal, even if it was just a small one today. Lucille knew he had to save his healing magic for the adventurers who might need it more than he did. Broad had shared an important lesson about helping anyone in need, and Lucille wanted to follow that advice. Just then, a group of young adventurers approached him. One of them, a girl with an injured arm, explained she had been bitten by a wolf in the forest. Without hesitating, Lucille cast a healing spell. The girl's face lit up with a smile as the pain disappeared. Her friends were amazed, realizing he had really healed her. Seeing their surprise, Lucille understood that many people in town didn't trust healers anymore. He offered his help to anyone else who needed it, and soon a small crowd had gathered. Lucille, though tired, decided to heal them one by one, determined to give his best effort. Brod watched from a distance, amused by the crowd. He told Lucille it was enough and praised him for using his magic so well. Brod suggested that Lucille stay at the guild for training, reassuring him that it would be free and include meals. Lucille couldn't believe his luck. Brod explained that he wanted to help young adventurers survive, and he believed Lucille could make a real difference. Lucille felt a wave of determination, promising himself that he would use his abilities to save as many lives as he could, not just those of adventurers but everyone in need. Brod smiled and said if more healers were like Lucille, the world would be a much better place. Lucille, feeling a bit shy but proud, realized this was a fresh start in a new world. He was ready to grow stronger and face whatever challenges lay ahead. Brod ended the session by telling Lucille that the next month would be filled with intense training. Lucille took a deep breath, feeling both fear and excitement, but he was ready. He knew this was his chance to get stronger and make a difference. He couldn't wait to see what the future held. Lucille shivered as the cold air hit him, but Brod gave him fresh clothes to change into and told him to meet him in the cafeteria. After changing, Lucille grimaced at his old clothes, feeling disgusted by them. Just then, Nanella entered, complimenting Lucille for his work with the adventurers. She offered to wash his clothes, but Lucille hesitated, not wanting her to do it. Nanella reassured him, saying she would take care of it. Later, Brod surprised Lucille with a large meal, telling him it was all for him to eat. Lucille was taken aback, but happily dug in, feeling satisfied after finishing the food. Brod then explained that Lucille would be using a room for rest and would be busy the next day. Despite the early hour, Lucille couldn't sleep and decided to work on improving his skills instead. The next day, Brod introduced Lucille to Gulgar, a tough-looking man who claimed to be the best cook. Gulgar offered Lucille a strange, unappealing drink that was said to boost strength and endurance, though it tasted awful. Lucille hesitated but decided to drink it, enduring the disgusting taste. Shortly after, he felt a surge of energy and excitement, realizing the drink had worked. With renewed energy, Lucille headed off to join Brod, while Gulgar, impressed by Lucille's determination, watched him go. Lucille reflected on his time at the guild, now feeling more confident and ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. Lucille had been at the Adventurers Guild for almost a week, getting used to the tough training under his instructor Brod. Brod was harsh and relentless, always pushing Lucille to his limits. Though it was exhausting, Lucille stayed determined, wanting to improve his skills. He tried to stay positive, even though the pain was tough, believing that pushing through was part of the process. Lucille eagerly asked for another chance to try again, even though Brod wasn't impressed with his efforts. One day, while healing a cat woman who had been bitten by a were-rat, Lucille noticed how kind the adventurers were to him. Despite being nervous, he treated her for free, treating all injuries equally, no matter the race. He was gaining a reputation for his healing abilities, which made him feel proud. But, as Lucille continued his harsh training routine, he started feeling as though someone was watching him. He confronted Brod about it and learned that the adventurers were worried Lucille might leave since they relied on him for healing. Lucille agreed to stay for a month, but insisted that the watching stop. He even jokingly threatened to make Brod drink a disgusting strength-enhancing potion if he caught anyone spying on him. As the month went on, Lucille began making more connections with the adventurers, including the Catwoman who had thanked him before. He also started focusing on his magic and target practice. But despite the hard work, Lucille realized he had a long way to go. He had yet to master anything, but he was determined to stick it out, telling himself that patience would eventually pay off. Lucille had been working hard, training under Brod for a whole month, but today, her contract with the Adventurers Guild was finally coming to an end. Brod then surprised him by handing over 12 silver coins, a reward for his hard work. Lucille was hesitant, but accepted the gift, realizing it was enough to cover his fees. After his departure, Lucille received a year's worth of payment from Monica to cover his offering. and she assured him he would focus on getting stronger and eventually becoming independent. Broad was waiting for him, and without asking for his permission, he had his adventurer card renewed. Lucille was frustrated but determined to keep moving forward. Later, Broad handed him a book titled Encyclopedia of Low-Level Holy Magic, telling him to study it so he could learn the heal and cure spells needed for his progress as a healer. Lucille, while teasing Broad, promised to work hard from that moment on. But his training was far from easy. Gulgar handed him a drink, Substance X, which he reluctantly drank, grimacing at the taste but vowing to keep going, eager to improve and prove himself. With his strength growing, Lucille felt ready to face whatever came next, even if it meant enduring more discomfort for the sake of progress. Lucille finally gets a break from his busy routine, thanks to Broad's suggestion. At first, he isn't sure how to relax, feeling a bit too used to constant work. Broad offers him a chance to learn about butchering monsters, so Lucille agrees out of curiosity. He heads to the butchery, where he meets Galba, a skilled worker who shows Lucille the process of butchering a large boar. Lucille is amazed by Galba's expertise and begins to understand why Broad sent him there, not just to help but to learn more about handling monsters. Galba explains that knowing weak points of monsters can help Lucille in future battles, especially as a healer. Lucille struggles when it's his turn to butcher a horned rabbit, finding the raw meat and blood uncomfortable. But he manages to get through it and appreciates the hard work involved. Gulgar jokes about Lucille's messy clothes, making him realize how much he takes food for granted. Nanala notices Lucille looks exhausted and reassures him, understanding that the work is tough for beginners. Lucille admits it's harder than he expected and feels the weight of his new life as an adventurer. Later, as Lucille relaxes, he notices his magic training has slowed down and leveling up has become harder, like in a video game. He wonders about Broad's absence, and soon, Nanella, Melina, and Mernell arrive. They explain that Broad asked them to teach him some practical knowledge, like about monsters, crafting, law, religion, and basic medicine. Lucille, though hesitant, chooses to start with law and religion, surprising the group. They explain that Broad wants him to understand the world beyond just fighting. They also share details about their location, Maritoni, and the holy city of Shirul, known for abolishing slavery, which surprises Lucille. As Lucille continues his routine of training, healing, and studying, half a year passes quickly. One day, the guild releases its earnings ranking, and Lucille's guild, the lineage of the White Wolf, is ranked first again. Lucille celebrates with the others, feeling a bit overwhelmed by their excitement. He goes shopping with Nanala, feeling awkward but thankful for her help, though she uses money from Broad to pay for everything. During their shopping trip, they run into Monica, who looks weak and injured. Lucille quickly uses his healing skills and realizes Monica might have been poisoned. She shares a troubling story about a friend who couldn't afford medical treatment and was sold into slavery. Lucille is shocked, believing slavery was illegal in their region. But Nanala explains that mercenaries might be involved, hinting that dark forces still exist, even in places that claim to have abolished such practices. Lucille learns more about the harsh realities of the world when Monica shares that, in some places, the high cost of medical treatment is so overwhelming that people can't afford it. She suspects that she was targeted for speaking out about the issue. Lucille is worried for her safety, but is unsure if she's truly out of danger. Monica mentions a powerful healer, Botticulli, as being involved, which only makes Lucille more concerned, especially for Monica's safety at the Healers Guild. He suggests she stay at the Adventurers Guild for safety, and though Monica is hesitant, she agrees to the plan. Lucille is relieved that he could help Monica, but the experience makes him realize how fragile life can be in this world. Despite this, he remains determined to continue helping others. Monica, grateful for Lucille's kindness, thanks him deeply. Later, when the man who attacked Monica is caught, there's no clear evidence linking him to Botticulli, and the case remains unresolved. Monica decides to stay at the Adventurers Guild, feeling comfortable and safe among the guild members, and life returns to normal. However, things take a turn when Broad urgently calls for Lucille's help. Adventurers have been injured in a monster attack, and Lucille jumps into action. The situation is critical, with one adventurer severely wounded, another poisoned, and another in critical condition. Lucille uses all of his healing skills to stabilize the injured, working tirelessly. Though exhausted, he doesn't stop until he's certain the adventurers are out of immediate danger. Broad praises his efforts, but Lucille feels a deep sadness for the ones he couldn't save. This experience strengthens his resolve to continue improving. Later, Lucille reflects on his year of training and examines his progress. While he has made some improvements, he feels like he hasn't advanced as much as he had hoped. Broad reassures him, saying he's improving, but Lucille still feels there's more work to be done. Lucille admits that he still struggles to predict Broad's attacks and land any hits. His only spells are healing and curing, which limits his abilities. Broad explains that their skills and experience are on different levels, but reassures Lucille that he's made impressive progress in just 1 year. Lucille feels confident enough to at least escape from monsters if necessary. Broad suggests joining the Adventurers Guild, pointing out that even Monica is working there as a receptionist. Lucille, however, has different plans. He wants to save money, learn new spells, and become more skilled in healing, so he can save more lives. His ultimate goal is to open an affordable healing clinic. Broad is impressed by Lucille's ambition and supports his decision, praising his determination. Lucille is ready to continue his journey and faces the future with confidence. Lucille stood in front of the Healers Guild, feeling nostalgic as he gazed at it. Though he was a healer, he had spent most of his time at the Adventurers Guild. He smiled and greeted Kura-san, the receptionist, who seemed a bit down. She sighed and shared her frustration with Lucille, explaining how she had been struggling to find new help since he had taken Monica to the Adventurers Guild. Lucille tried to lighten the mood, reminding her that Monica was safe now. After handing in his guild renewal card, Kururu returned with concern, asking Lucille about his risky training. Lucille hesitated, but eventually admitted that he had been living at the Adventurers Guild, focusing on self-defense training to improve his holy magic. He explained that practical experience was more important to him than earning money, and Kururu understood his reasoning. Lucille apologized for any misunderstanding, and Kururu smiled, acknowledging his dedication. As the conversation shifted, Lucille was shocked to learn that upgrading his rank to C would cost 90 silver coins. Just as he was about to worry about the expenses, Broad entered and offered to cover his transfer to the Adventurers Guild for a year, along with wages. Lucille agreed to the transfer, reassured by Broad's support. At the Adventurers Guild, Lucille was teased by some adventurers, but he ignored them, focusing on his goal to learn more magic. Later, Broad reminded him that he was now a temporary employee of the guild, and there would be a welcome party in his honor. At the party, Lucille reluctantly led a toast, but the drink he had to down was so awful that everyone mocked him. Despite the teasing, Lucille tried to stay positive, wishing for everyone's safety and happiness. Later, during a conversation with Bazan, Lucille shared that he had been focused on survival training for the past year, leaving little time for anything else. Bazan jokingly teased him about his disinterest in women, and Lucille, embarrassed, explained that his attention was elsewhere. The conversation took a strange turn when Sekhiroth joined in, joking about Lucille's preferences. Lucille, flustered, brushed it off, but was also curious about what Sekhiroth was suggesting about the city's nightlife. The teasing continued, but Lucille couldn't help but feel intrigued by the possibilities. Lucille returned to the Adventurers Guild and was greeted warmly by Monica, who seemed genuinely happy to see him. However, Lucille felt a bit uneasy, wondering if she had overheard something she shouldn't have. Monica asked if he was happy with his choice to come here, and Lucille returned the question, to which he excitedly confirmed that she was happy, especially because she got to spend time with him. Meanwhile, Badacully, who ran the biggest clinic in Maritoni, was facing difficulties as his clinic's income had dropped. He learned that a healer linked to the Adventurers Guild might be the cause. When he saw Lucille, he approached him aggressively, calling him an impudent brat. Badacully demanded that Lucille leave the Adventurers Guild and work at his clinic, but Lucille firmly refused. Badacully was enraged, but tried to force his decision, blaming Lucille for his clinic's troubles. Lucille calmly responded that a healer's purpose was to save lives, and his clinic's bad reputation was likely the reason for the loss in patients. Later, Lucille had a conversation with Botticelli about healing magic. Botticelli boasted about his use of high heal, a powerful magic that came at a high price. Lucille, questioning the ethics of overcharging patients, warned that such practices would only lead to resentment. Botticelli, dismissing Lucille's concerns, shared his perspective on the struggles of being a healer, but Lucille still believed that helping people should come first. Lucille's challenge to Botticelli's way of running his clinic only fueled Botticelli's anger, and the situation grew tense. Lucille found himself in a life-threatening situation when Lord Botticelli ordered his men to kill him. However, just in time, Instructor Broad intervened, stopping the guards and forcing Botticelli to back down. Lucille was immensely relieved, thanking Broad for saving his life. Broad, remaining calm, warned Lucille that some people might target him to gain favor with Botticelli. In response, Broad decided to stop training Lucille as a healer and instead begin his gladiator training, preparing him for the challenges ahead. Lucille, unsure of what to think, followed Broad's orders, though he worried about the tough training to come. Broad's methods were strict, pushing Lucille beyond his limits. During their training, Lucille learned that strength wasn't just about numbers or stats. It was about real skill and the ability to survive in difficult situations. Broad made it clear that focusing on skill, not just stats, was the key to surviving real battles. Over time, Lucille's training intensified as he learned martial arts, swordsmanship, spearmanship, and magic. He began to understand that survival was about being prepared for anything, even when it meant enduring pain. Meanwhile, Botticelli, frustrated with Lucille's rising success, plotted to remove him from his position by using his influence in the Healers Guild. Despite the challenges, Lucille continued to train hard, trusting Broad's guidance as he moved forward on his path to becoming stronger. 6 months had passed since Lucille's conversation with Botticelli, the head of the largest clinic in town, and his friends, Gulgar and Broad, couldn't help but notice how much he had changed. Lucille had undergone intense physical training, so much so that no one could tell he was a healer anymore. Gulgar pointed out that healers usually didn't train for combat, but Lucille had proven them wrong. Lucille, still adjusting to his transformation, shared that he had even started to overcome his fear of blades, which had been a major hurdle in his training. During their conversation, Nanala entered and handed Lucille a letter from the Holy Church of Shirul. It was a request for him to transfer to their headquarters. Lucille realized that Botticelli had likely orchestrated this, trying to remove him from the Adventurers Guild's protection. Despite his confusion about the transfer, Lucille knew he still had half a year to continue his training before any changes took place. However, Lucille's exhaustion was becoming noticeable, and he admitted to running out of magic. Gulgar quickly stepped in, offering him a strange drink to help him recover. Despite his initial hesitation, Lucille drank it and immediately felt something unusual. Gulgar assured him it would help him regain some of his magic. Meanwhile, Broad and Gulgar discussed their own progress. Gulgar noticed how much stronger Broad had become, and they joked about the mysterious drink's effects on Lucille. They also discussed the challenges Lucille faced in his training, wondering how far he could push himself. As their conversation continued, Galba entered the room and shared updates about the situation with Botticelli and the Healers Guild. He revealed that money was flowing into the guild's head, prompting them to investigate further. Despite his retirement, Galba decided to take action and put the competition out of business. He also acknowledged Lucille's potential, noting that he had proven himself serious by joining their guild. The conversation lightened as the group joked about Lucille's romantic life, with Gulgar teasing Broad about whether Galba would train Lucille in the future. They also laughed about Lucille's strange reputation, calling him the Maso Zombie due to his odd behavior. Lucille and Broad had a serious conversation in the training hall. Lucille confirmed he was heading to the Holy City, but feared the consequences of disobeying the Pope's orders. Broad, knowing the church might not be what it seemed, suggested that if things went wrong, Lucille should escape and return. Lucille, not intending to confess his love, had called Brod to ask for a favor. He shared his concern about how adventurers often couldn't afford treatment at clinics, leading to more injuries and deaths. He asked Brod to start a training course for rookies, teaching them not only basic skills, but also important survival tactics, such as monster hunting and identifying medicinal herbs. Lucille believed this would help adventurers avoid injury and reduce the strain on clinics. Brod was surprised by his request, but agreed to think about it. Lucille explained that, although he was a healer, he was more of an adventurer at heart and wanted to create a system to help others succeed. Before they parted, Brod asked if Lucille felt stronger under his training, and Lucille acknowledged his mental growth over the past 2 years, though he still had much to learn. As they were about to leave, Brod asked about Monica, someone they were considering bringing into the guild. Lucille assured him that he was responsible for Monica's safety, and it was probably best to keep her there. They then saw Monica and Nanala nearby, and Lucille took the chance to thank them both. He expressed deep gratitude to Monica for her support and to Nanala for her help during tough times, especially with his training. Monica smiled, but Nanala, more formal, said Lucille was an inspiration to the beast folk. Lucille, his heart full, thanked them both for everything, acknowledging how they had been his anchor during tough times. Monica, confused, asked what Lucille meant, and Lucille explained that saving Monica had given him the strength to push through difficult challenges. Lucille was filled with gratitude for his friends as he reflected on the journey they had shared. He had grown close to them over the past 2 years, not just as people he had helped, but as true companions. As he prepared to leave, he promised to stay strong and work hard, hoping that one day they could all share a meal together again. His friends, Nanala and Monica, supported him with smiles, understanding the challenges he had faced and the goals he still had. As time passed, Lucille made progress, reaching rank E in his Adventurers Guild. His mentor, Brod, shared a lighthearted moment with him, teasing him about his training. Lucille's confidence grew, and he was proud of how far he had come. Before he left, Brod gave him a magical bag as a parting gift and reminded him of his promise to return. Despite the jokes and teasing, Lucille felt a deep sense of pride and emotion as he prepared to move on. Lucille left with a sense of determination, knowing he was about to face new challenges on his own. As he set off, he met new companions, including Basura and Sekhiroth, who welcomed him with playful teasing. Lucille, feeling both nervous and excited, was surprised by a reminder from Monica about a promise they had made. With a mixture of confusion and amusement, Lucille realized the journey ahead was filled with new experiences, and his story was just beginning. Lucille arrived at the city, gazing in awe at its grandeur. As he approached, Bazan, a seasoned traveler, teased him about heading straight to the church, but Lucille had other plans. He mentioned he was running low on Substance X and suggested they stop by the Adventurers Guild first. Sekhiroth, a quiet companion, noticed Lucille's unease about the guild and agreed to stay behind while Bazan accompanied him. At the guild, Lucille was struck by its familiarity. As Bazan spoke with Milty, a waitress, he introduced Lucille to the master. Lucille, feeling the tension, tried to remain calm. After ordering 3 barrels of Substance X, the master offered him a drink to ensure he could handle it. The adventurers around them whispered, calling Lucille a monster and a legendary healer. Lucille, unbothered, shook his head but accepted the drink. Finally, the master agreed to the order, warning Lucille to use the substance responsibly. Leaving the guild, Lucille thanked Bazan for his help, and the journey continued. As they approached the church headquarters, Lucille marveled at its size, while Bazan teased him about earning the spell tome he had received. Lucille felt a sense of loneliness as their journey together ended, but he was ready for the next step. Arriving at the Healers Guild, Lucille was greeted by a receptionist and introduced himself. He admired a telepathic device, which caught the receptionist's attention. Soon, a priest named Granhard arrived and escorted Lucille inside, showing him the magical wonders of the guild headquarters, including an automatic door and a magical elevator. Lucille's excitement grew as he saw the possibilities ahead. Lucille and Granhart were talking about a mysterious building's design. Lucille wondered if the layout was meant to keep people inside, not just keep outsiders out. During their conversation, Lucille was surprised to see Lumina, someone he had helped before. Lumina recognized Lucille and greeted him warmly, mentioning how memorable Lucille's magical aura had been. After chatting, Lumina invited Lucille to talk more later in her room, and Lucille agreed. Granhart reassured Lucille, mentioning Lumina's important position. They moved on to another room that Lucille initially thought was a torture chamber, but was actually a storage room. Granhart shared troubling news from Maritoni, accusing Lucille of damaging the reputation of other healers. Lucille quickly explained his concerns about healers charging high fees and suggested being more transparent with treatment costs. Granhart promised to discuss it with others. Lucille then received an official letter from Granhart, assigning him to the Church of St. Shurul's spiritual cleansing unit. He was to exorcise undead creatures, a task that came with the titles of deacon and exorcist and a surprising salary of 20 gold coins per month. Lucille was both stunned and excited about his new role, but was reminded by Granhart that his work would begin the next day. Later, Lucille nervously entered Lumina's quarters. Lumina noticed his nerves and asked about his assignment. Lucille explained that he was to exorcise undead creatures, and Lumina warned him that this new task might be dangerous. She explained that under the old guild headquarters, there was a labyrinth created by the accumulation of magical energy. The labyrinth contained monsters like skeletons, zombies, and ghosts, but Lucille could fight them using holy purification spells. Lumina reassured Lucille that he could handle the monsters, as he had combat training. Lucille was excited about the potential rewards, like treasure and special tomes, but he also joked about the possibility of turning into a zombie if bitten. Lumina laughed, assuring him it wasn't something that happened often, though she also warned him that the job had its risks. The next morning, Lucille arrived at his destination, where he met Granhart and Jord. After some introductions, Granhart handed Lucille a special robe and a card that would allow him to use the magic elevating platform and go outside without needing permission. Lucille swore to follow Granhart's rules, even though they seemed strict, and was soon off to the labyrinth with Jord. Upon arriving at the entrance, Lucille was hit with a foul smell and saw his first zombie, which excited him, even though Jord urged him to watch first. Lucille was given a magical stone and told to use the purification spell on any undead he encountered. As they continued, Lucille practiced his new spell, finding it helpful for both cleaning and fighting. His weapons, given by Master Broad, came in handy as he began mapping the labyrinth, determined to improve his skills. Lucille faced many monsters, including skeletons and will-o-wisps, using his purification magic and sword to defeat them. Though his magic ran out at one point, he kept going, confident in his abilities. By the end of the day, Lucille had made great progress and was ready to tackle more challenges. Jord loudly yelled "Purification" when Lucille emerged from the labyrinth. Lucille, confused, asked why, and Jord jokingly said he thought Lucille might have turned into a zombie after disappearing for so long. Lucille, somewhat skeptical of Jord's airhead nature, reflected on his mission in the labyrinth. Despite battling countless undead, his level wasn't increasing. Lucille started to suspect the undead might just be illusions designed to train him. As Jord explained how the shop worked, Lucille learned that magic stones could be exchanged for points, which could buy potions, magic items, and even spell books. It felt like a video game to Lucille. Then, Jord called over Katlia, who greeted Lucille warmly. After some casual conversation, she asked Lucille for the magic stones he had gathered. He awkwardly handed them over, and Katlia informed him that he had earned 4,216 points, an impressive amount for his first day. Lucille, intrigued by the items in the shop, asked about the spell books, but the most expensive one was priced at 1 million points. When he inquired about weapons, Katlia explained they were made of special materials for fighting undead and crafted by dwarves. Lucille was particularly drawn to a spear, priced at 2,500 points, which seemed like a great deal. Katlia explained that most healers who couldn't use weapons effectively didn't buy them, so the weapons piled up. Lucille decided he wanted to buy both a sword and a spear after completing his work, but he didn't have enough points. Katlia, recognizing him as a first-time customer, offered both weapons for 4,000 points. Lucille, thrilled, accepted the deal, and Katlia cautioned him to be careful out there. Lucille was excited about finishing his first day of work and looked forward to the big magic book he wanted to buy. He felt like he was earning points, just like collecting loyalty points in his previous life. As he was reflecting on this, Grandhard appeared. He checked on Lucille, reminding him about his wages and telling him he could use items from the storage room. He also advised Lucille to take care of himself, eat well, get enough sleep, and stay focused, as the job was dangerous. Grandhard handed him a clerical robe and explained its importance. The robe wasn't just a symbol of his position, but a reminder of the responsibility he carried as a healer. The next day, Lucille was full of energy and eager to try out his new dual spear sword fighting style. He spent hours exploring the labyrinth, battling more zombie illusions, and mapping out the area. He noticed the zombies were now carrying weapons, which surprised him. By the second day, he made it to the 5th level, earning more points along the way. By the 3rd day, Lucille felt unstoppable. He breezed through battles with zombie knights and archers, laughing at how easily he dodged their attacks. He figured out the pattern of the glowing fireballs, dodging them with ease. Feeling confident, Lucille relaxed a bit, but suddenly the ground shifted beneath him, and he nearly lost his balance. Instead of being scared, he laughed, realizing that the traps were just part of the challenge ahead. Lucille was exploring the labyrinth when he encountered a new challenge. He quickly took note of the situation as a group of zombies appeared. Using his purification spell, he cleared them out and continued his journey. As the number of monsters grew, Lucille became more cautious, slowing his pace to avoid traps. He also noticed his points kept increasing, but his level remained stuck at 1, which puzzled him. Eventually, after days of careful exploration, his level reached 10. Confident in his abilities, Lucille felt ready to find the staircase to the next level. However, he came across what looked like a boss room. Unsure about what to expect, he considered turning back. Just then, another adventurer named Jord overheard and explained that it was a place where strong monsters appear. Lucille, surprised, realized he was farther along than he thought. The next day, feeling more confident and prepared, Lucille bought a new bow for the boss battle. He was eager to clear the labyrinth and imagined the reward that awaited him. As he ventured deeper, the darkness of the labyrinth made the atmosphere unsettling. He encountered a large group of enemies, which made him nervous, but he reassured himself that he was ready. When he attempted to use his purification spell, it failed, leaving him confused and anxious. As the enemies closed in, Lucille realized his magic might be blocked. Panicking, he realized he had been overconfident and hadn't properly prepared for what lay ahead. Regret filled him as he faced the consequences of his actions, surrounded by the monsters he had underestimated. Lucille was exploring a dungeon when he suddenly felt pain in his arm, even though he thought it was just an illusion. Despite the discomfort, he pushed forward, thinking that Master Broad's tough training had prepared him for worse. He couldn't cast spells, but he could channel magic into his weapon, so he kept fighting, determined to win. After defeating the enemies, he was relieved, though tired. He wished he could heal himself, but remembered how Master Broad would make him run even when exhausted. As he picked up the loot, he was surprised to find another enemy, a wight. Realizing it was a boss battle, Lucille tried to heal, but the magic didn't work. Observing the wight, he figured out that it was afraid of holy silver weapons. He recalled a lesson from his training and knew he had to strike when the wight tried to cast a spell. Lucille took his chance and dealt a powerful blow. Though the wight survived, he wasn't surprised, knowing the labyrinth was full of tricks. Finally, he used his healing spell, and this time it worked, giving him relief. After collecting his loot, Lucille found a hidden staircase, but decided to take a break instead of continuing. On his way out, he ran into Katlia and shared his experience. Katlia was concerned about his recklessness, but acknowledged that labyrinth crawling was typically for exorcists. Lucille felt proud of his progress, especially after earning over 100,000 points, which seemed like a huge reward. He also showed Katlia an old piece of armor he had taken from the White, feeling accomplished by his battle. Lucille was unsure about the value of the items he had collected, and was instructed by Katlia to pack them up and change into his clerical robe. They then headed to a restricted area, where Katlia announced their arrival to the Pope. Lucille was surprised to learn the Pope was a woman, but he remained quiet. Katlia introduced Lucille as a new exorcist who had been successfully fighting undead, even managing to defeat a White on level 10 of the labyrinth. The Pope took an interest in the items Lucille had brought and confirmed they belonged to Ozenario, who had disappeared years ago. Fluna, the Pope's assistant, examined the items and revealed that one of them could cut magic use in half while the other could disrupt spells. Lucille was amazed, thinking of them as powerful cheat items. Fluna then offered to buy the items from Lucille, and after some hesitation, he agreed, sensing she was serious. Lucille made a request for a larger magic bag, as his current one was too small for his explorations. In return, Fluna offered him a magic sack that could hold much more, even an entire room's worth of items. Lucille was amazed by her generosity and felt lucky. Fluna promised to reward him for any valuable finds from the labyrinth. Later, Katlia admired Lucille's ability to negotiate with the Pope, something most people wouldn't dare do. Lucille wondered if he had been too bold, but was reassured by Katlia, who noted that the Pope had given him a magic sack as a sign of approval. However, Lucille still felt uneasy under Katlia's intense gaze. Lucille feels frustrated as he reflects on his recent mistakes during a tough boss battle. He imagines what his master and Gulgar would say if they saw his performance. Unsure about his progress, Lucille considers joining Paladin or Templar training to improve, but soon his thoughts shift to his hunger. He eagerly anticipates breakfast, and when Lumina and her team, Quina and Lucy, arrive, they explain that they always have breakfast after their morning training. Lumina mentions that Lucille has made progress in just 10 days, but Lucille still feels dissatisfied and wants to talk about his struggles. They invite him to join them, which he happily accepts. As they sit down, Lumina is surprised to learn that Lucille fought a dangerous White on the 10th floor of the dungeon. Lucy and Quina criticize him for his reckless actions, but Lucille brushes off their concerns, reflecting on his mistakes. Lumina expresses her disappointment in his choices, and Lucille admits his regret, asking for mercy. Lucy warns that his reckless behavior could lead to disaster, and though Lucille wishes to train more to get stronger, he faces restrictions as a healer. However, Lumina suggests that there may still be a way for him to train, though it would be difficult. After the conversation, Lucille returns to the undead labyrinth, determined to improve. He successfully clears the 11th level and reaches the 12th before deciding to rest. He meets Katlia, a mysterious figure who offers to help him convert his points. Though Lucille wonders about her past, Katlia is cryptic and warns him not to ask too many questions. She gives him a magical sack that can store and retrieve items with his magic. Lucille is amazed by its ability to change colors and store anything he touches, and Katlia explains how to use it. Inside the sack, Lucille finds books added by the Pope, which surprises him. Feeling fortunate, Lucille continues his journey deeper into the dungeon. The next day, he meets the Valkyrie Paladin Regiment and introduces himself as an exorcist, eager to train and grow stronger with them. The group prepares for combat training, excited to begin. Lucille is struggling with his training, feeling uncertain about his progress, and comparing himself to others. During a run, he becomes frustrated by how much slower he is compared to his companions, despite pushing himself harder. He reflects on his past training and his current limitations, but even though he's exhausted, he refuses to give up. Later, during combat training, Lumina notices that Lucille's fighting style is reckless, as he lacks dual-wielding skills. She challenges him to demonstrate his abilities, encouraging him to fight using the techniques he learned at the Adventurers Guild. Lucille decides to switch to a sword and shield stance, determined to prove himself. The scene shifts to Lucille performing a healing ritual, calling on divine energy to restore someone. Lucille wakes up in the training yard surrounded by his fellow trainees, Lucy and Quina, who check on him. They discuss the intensity of the training and how tough Lumina was on Lucille. Lucille is eager to explore the 16th level of the labyrinth, excited to test his skills. He equips himself with a sword and shield, following the fighting style of his master Broad. Using his magical sack, he easily pulls out his weapons, appreciating the convenience. As he moves forward, he finds some magic stones and suspects a trap, but feeling confident with his defensive spells, he decides to proceed. While facing enemies, Lucille realizes they don't grant experience points, but he pushes through the pain from their attacks, seeing it as part of his training. Over the next few days, he continues exploring, enduring discomfort from the mysterious Substance X while taking breaks for lunch. Upon reaching the 20th level, Lucille senses it might be another boss room. He is warned by Katlia, who hints at a connection to a guild member who died there. Although Lucille notices her sadness, he remains unsure whether her emotions are genuine or an act. Lucille had spent 2 days fighting undead creatures on the 10th level, practicing Master Broad's fighting style. The following day, Elizabeth arrives to start training, reminding Lucille that they would focus on dual-wielding techniques. Lucille is surprised when real swords are introduced for the training, and he prepares by making sure he has healing spells ready. During the duel training, Lucille watches his opponents, Ripnir and Lumina. Both are quick and skilled, striking at weak points and anticipating each other's moves. Lucille finds that dual-wielding leaves him more vulnerable than expected, as continuous attacks limit his mobility. Despite this, he realizes he must keep attacking. When Lucille faces Lumina, he struggles with his barrier spell and feels the pressure of the fight. The intense training pushes him to grow stronger. Afterward, Lucille recognizes Elizabeth's skills and learns how she used her magical affinity with fire and water to create illusions in battle. Impressed by her strategy, Lucille reflects on how much more he has to learn. A few days later, with Lumina's guidance, Lucille advances to the 20th level and successfully clears a boss room, benefiting from the paladin training he received. Fluna praises his efforts and explains that the items he found were once owned by a high priest who lost his way in the labyrinth a decade ago. Lucille puts the pieces together, realizing the priest turned into an undead and attacked the church headquarters. This shocks Katlia, who warns him not to speak of it. The underground labyrinth has been in existence for 50 years, though no one knows why it was created. It was once a bustling place where Templars and Paladins studied and trained. However, when the labyrinth appeared, efforts to seal it off were made to stop monsters from escaping, but these attempts were unsuccessful. The labyrinth's core continues to release harmful miasma. Some believe that conquering the labyrinth could destroy the miasma, but no one has succeeded in doing so. An elite group of Templars and Paladins once ventured in, but the miasma slowed their progress, resulting in many sacrifices. In the end, the entrance was sealed to prevent any more monsters from escaping. Today, there are fewer Templars and Paladins, and healers with purification spells are tasked with eliminating undead to ensure they don't escape. This has become the highest priority. Fluna asks Lucille to continue exploring the labyrinth and promises to provide whatever he needs. Lucille requests anti-undead weapons and armor to keep himself safe. Fluna agrees and mentions that once Lucille reaches healer rank 7, she will promote him. She leaves some items with Katlia to assist him on his quest. Lucille, excited by the reward and promotion, is determined to give his best effort. Lucille entered the guild hall and greeted everyone cheerfully, but the adventurers quickly started whispering about him. They were confused about his presence, especially because of his distinct healer's robe. Ignoring their stares, he approached the guild master to ask if he was available. The master appeared, surprised by Lucille's request to buy 10 barrels of Substance X. As the adventurers continued to watch, the master, slightly embarrassed, asked Lucille to set up his healing practice in the guild, similar to what he did in Maritoni. Lucille hesitated at first, but agreed to help after realizing it would allow him to repay a promise he made to his mentor. While Lucille waited for the Substance X, another adventurer, Milty, explained the dire situation. Adventurers were badly injured from fighting strong monsters, but they couldn't afford the expensive medical fees. The guild master asked Lucille for his help, and Lucille agreed, offering his services for a single silver coin per person. Soon, Lucille encountered an injured adventurer, Elitz, trying to save his friend. A crowd gathered, and when they saw Lucille, they reacted with fear and hostility, remembering his reputation as a cold, heartless healer. The master stepped in to calm them, introducing Lucille as the legendary Maso-Zombie healer from Maritoni, willing to help for just one silver coin. The adventurers, relieved and hopeful, called for Lucille's assistance, eagerly pushing forward. Lucille, frustrated, reluctantly agreed to treat them under 3 conditions: a silver coin per person, help from the adventurers if he or the church faces trouble, and no more calling him zombie or masochist. Lucille performed the healing ritual, and in an instant, the adventurer's pain disappeared. However, one adventurer mistakenly called him masochism, and Lucille sighed in frustration. They quickly brainstormed new nicknames for him, trying to find a fitting one, though Lucille knew the nickname debate wouldn't end easily. Later, Lucille met Katlia, who was concerned about his trip to the labyrinth. Lucille reassured her, promising he would take care and return regularly. Katlia was still worried, but Lucille was determined, and he cheerfully waved goodbye. However, he returned almost immediately, confusing Katlia. After receiving some new weapons and magical items from the Pope, Lucille prepared for another trip. As Lucille chatted with the guild master, he learned that it was his Saint Weirdo's free day, a day off he had earned. Despite his nickname causing some embarrassment, the guild master and others were supportive, even joking about his healing skills and mock battles. Lucille enjoyed their company, but remained focused on his goal of improving his magic control. Later, Lucille treated the adventurers with his healing skills, and they thanked him warmly. However, the mood shifted when the conversation turned to the Valkyrie's safety and the rumored activities of Maritoni and a dangerous bear chef. Lucille couldn't help but feel concerned for everyone caught up in these troublesome situations. Lucille was surprised to hear that several receptionists at the Adventurers Guild were getting married to A-rank beastfolk adventurers. After a successful battle, where she defeated a boss on the 30th level, Lucille felt proud of her progress. Katlia, relieved, expressed her happiness that Lucille was safe. She praised Lucille for earning a huge amount of points and suggested that she could buy another robe and some magic potions. Lucille agreed, knowing that potions would be vital in future battles, especially since she relied heavily on magic for healing. Katlia was amazed that Lucille could use powerful healing magic at such a young age. Lucille explained that she hadn't always been skilled in magic, and Katlia jokingly questioned if she had been using some mysterious drug. Lucille then remembered the strange substance called Substance X that she'd been drinking for 2.5 years, and Katlia became concerned, warning him to confess the truth to the Pope. Later, Lucille shared the story with the Pope, who was impressed by his progress but shocked to learn about Substance X. Lucille showed them the bottle, which both Katlia and the Pope found repulsive. Lucille explained that it wasn't poison, but a special drink made from a combination of medicinal herbs, dragon's heart, and spirit water. The Pope speculated that it was created to unlock hidden talents, though Lucille didn't find it pleasant. The drink had been renamed God's Lament due to its terrible taste, which Lucille confirmed was as awful as it sounded. Lucille had been drinking a strange substance called Substance X, also known as God's Lament, 3 times a day for 2.5 years. Despite its awful taste, Lucille believed it helped him survive and grow stronger. The Pope was impressed by Lucille's progress and even mentioned that Lucille could become a sage one day due to his remarkable abilities, such as using powerful healing magic at such a young age. Lucille had recently faced tough monsters in the labyrinth, including wights and ghost knights, which he defeated with a special area heal. Later, Lucille received a letter from the Pope about Substance X, explaining that it was designed to reignite the basic human urges like sleep, food, and sex, which might fade for those devoted to the church. The substance also had some surprising side effects, like improving health, boosting skill growth, and protecting the body from illnesses. Lucille was fascinated by its potential, but also learned that the substance was met with strong criticism due to its terrible smell and was considered unfit for the church. Still, Lucille hoped it could be used by adventurers, especially beginners, to help them grow stronger. While reflecting on its effects, Lucille realized that the substance might have altered his desires, including his sexual drive. He began to worry, thinking that the person who gave him the substance might have thought he was celibate or lacking in that area. Lucille tried to reassure himself, deciding to focus on his training in the labyrinth first. However, his confusion and frustration grew when he noticed that he hadn't received any replies to his letters, and he resolved to push forward with his training, determined to improve for the future. Lucille spent a moment reflecting on the past month, remembering his discovery of Substance X and his journey through floors 31 to 40, where he faced unfamiliar monsters. His goal was to defeat the boss on the 40th floor, but he felt something was off and decided to investigate the undead at the Adventurers Guild. Unexpectedly, a young girl appeared, and Lucille, worried about the consequences of being seen with her, suggested they go inside the guild. There, he was greeted by Nanala and Monica, who jokingly called him Saint Weirdo Lucille Sama. While he tried to catch his breath, adventurers excitedly rushed to him for help, bringing in injured people. Lucille quickly used his healing magic to assist them. Just as he thought he could rest, Milty called him over for another task. Lucille asked Milty to speak with a beastfolk child who had approached him earlier, and then turned his attention back to Monica and Nanala, curious about their reasons for visiting the capital. When he jokingly suggested they were there to announce their weddings, he was surprised by their laughter. Soon, Milty asked Lucille to help in the slums, and Lucille, feeling uneasy, hesitated, questioning the danger. Master offered to join them, reassuring Lucille. In the slums, the stench of death filled the air, and Lucille learned that a group from the independent city-state of Yenais had been attacked by thieves. He helped heal the wounded, though a sudden pain struck him, reminding him of past injuries. Determined, he cast healing magic, and after some time, he ensured everyone was tended to. Lucille wondered if the man who had stabbed him was the father of the girl he had seen earlier. As he continued to help, a slum dweller approached, pleading for assistance. Lucille explained he could only treat injuries and reluctantly decided to help, treating the wounds and lecturing the residents about safety and cleanliness. Despite the chaotic situation, Lucille felt touched by his friend's concern for him. Later, Lucille apologized to Monica for dragging her into the mess, but she reassured him it was fine. Nanala, however, expressed concern over Lucille being stabbed. Lucille smiled, appreciating their care, and joked that it might give him the strength to face the 40th floor boss. The scene ended with a surprise appearance from Monster Luck Sensei, a reminder of Lucille's monster luck. As he snapped back to the present, he learned that Monica and Nanala had come to visit the capital before their upcoming weddings, and Lucille, still curious, was informed that it was Melina and Murnell who were getting married. Lucille was shocked to learn that Monica and Nanala had been sending him letters, as he had never received any from them. He had even thought they didn't want to hear from him anymore. It turned out that the letters had been sitting with Master Broad, who had forgotten to send them out. Lucille was frustrated, but also surprised when Elitz jokingly asked which one of the women was his girlfriend, making the adventurers around them gossip. Lucille quickly clarified that Monica and Nanala were not only dear friends, but also key to his success as a healer, with their support helping him survive difficult training. However, their visit took a turn when they learned there were injured people in the training hall. Lucille felt conflicted, but they insisted on helping, eager to work alongside him. As they treated adventurers, Lucille reflected on how simple life used to feel and how grateful he was for their support. The master, eager to make up for the missed letters, threw a big party to celebrate. The time passed quickly, and before Lucille knew it, Monica and Nanala had to leave. They shared their happiness about seeing him doing well, and Lucille promised to visit them next time. Their parting was filled with laughter and the hope of meeting again soon. Later, Lucille helped Orga, who had been deeply grateful for his healing. Orga shared that thanks to Lucille's help, he had established a healer's guild in Yenais. Lucille was touched by Orga's words, but humbly downplayed his role. He also met Orga's daughter, Sheila, who had suffered an injury that damaged her vocal cords. Lucille, moved by her story, gave her a blessing in hopes of helping her regain her voice. As Lucille prepared for the tough challenges ahead, Lumina, impressed by his progress, suggested they spar. Although Lucille struggled, he learned a lot from the experience. Lumina complimented his improvement, and Lucille, grateful for her guidance, felt more confident in his abilities. Their friendly sparring led to a conversation where Lucille discovered that Lumina had a more casual side to her. The two laughed, with Lucille feeling at ease, knowing that they could always chat casually in the future. And 6 months later, Katlia handed Lucille a letter from Lumina, telling him it was time to go to the 40th floor main chamber. Lucille, now ready, had spent enough time training. In the letter, Lumina warned him of a dangerous enemy, a dual-wielding undead monster formed by a former Templar and Paladin, both with powerful skills. Lucille, frustrated, tried his best to fight but struggled, realizing that his purification magic wasn't effective. Exhausted, he used a strategy of retreating to a safe zone between battles, using his healing powers to recover and trying to survive. Over time, the battle became a desperate challenge, and Lucille realized the danger was real. No reset, no second chances. Despite the fear, she reassured herself and remembered the training she had undergone. With her opponent's weaknesses in mind, Lucille found her opening and took action, defeating the monster after a long and exhausting fight. Though physically drained, Lucille felt proud of her achievement and was eager to return to Katlia, who must have been worried. But even after the victory, Lucille struggled with the door. Lucille couldn't return to the surface and had to descend to the 50th floor, where he quickly found treasure chests and stairways to continue. Reflecting on his journey, he thought about how tough Master Broad's trials had been and how close he came to dying multiple times. The adventurers were worried because they hadn't seen Saint Weirdo in a long time. Even the Master hadn't heard from him, which made everyone wonder if something bad had happened. Meanwhile, Lucille was struggling far away, exhausted and nearly out of food in a dangerous labyrinth. He fought against powerful monsters, using his magic spells, but his energy was running low. Desperate, he managed to defeat a fearsome boss with a spell called Sanctuary Circle. After the fight, Lucille found a mysterious spellbook and an item labeled as Forbidden Holy Magic. He felt uneasy about what he had discovered and decided he needed to report it. As he continued deeper into the labyrinth, he faced a huge, intimidating dragon. Lucille was terrified, but used his powerful spell once again. To his surprise, the dragon wasn't angry. It actually admired Lucille's bravery. The dragon, called the Holy Dragon, explained that it had been trapped in the labyrinth for a long time. It was pleased that Lucille showed no greed for the treasure it guarded. The dragon then decided to grant Lucille a special protection to help him survive in future battles. Lucille was surprised but accepted the gift, promising to save others, including the dragon's kin, as he continued his journey. With this new blessing, Lucille left, feeling a mix of relief and a new sense of responsibility. He knew the path ahead would be even more dangerous, but he was determined to face whatever came next. Lucille had just returned home after being away for half a year. He was excited and relieved, but that feeling quickly turned into surprise when he was welcomed with a tight hug from Katlia, who was clearly worried about him. She had thought something terrible had happened in the labyrinth, and even feared he might have turned into an undead. Their reunion was filled with relief, but also a sense of urgency, as Katlia immediately told Lucille that the adventurers outside were demanding to see him. As Lucille stepped outside, he was greeted by his friends and fellow adventurers, all of whom thought he had disappeared for good. They were overjoyed to see him alive, teasing him and sharing jokes. Lucille felt a sense of warmth and camaraderie, realizing how much everyone had missed him. He then began to tell them about his experiences while he was away, mentioning the odd and smelly drink called Substance X he had been forced to take. The group groaned at the memory, but Lucille laughed, recalling how he managed to help people by reinstating his free healing day, even if it meant working alongside his strict master Broad. Broad, as tough as ever, challenged Lucille to prove his strength, teasing him about his false confidence. Despite the tough words, it was clear he cared about Lucille's well-being. The other adventurers joked about Lucille being an urban legend, and there was a playful atmosphere among the group. The scene shifted to a more serious moment when Lucille met with the Pope. The Pope was relieved that Lucille had returned safely and explained that the Valkyrie Paladin Regiment had been sent to rescue him, but had to retreat due to dangerous wraiths in the labyrinth. The Pope then asked Lucille why he had been gone for so long, prompting Lucille to begin his explanation of the difficult challenges he faced deep inside the labyrinth. In this scene, Lucille returns after conquering the dangerous labyrinth and surprises everyone, including the Pope, with his achievement. The Pope praises Lucille for defeating the boss on the 50th floor, something that no one expected. However, Lucille has serious news to share, and he asks to speak privately with the Pope, Catlia, and Lumina. This makes the other priests angry, but the Pope allows it. In private, Lucille reveals that he found a forbidden holy magic book and encountered an undead holy dragon. The dragon spoke of a curse placed by an evil deity, trapping them in the labyrinth. The dragon also warned that a new hero would not appear for another 40 years and that the world would face dark times with stronger monsters and a new demon king. The Pope is shocked by the revelation and orders Catlia and Lumina not to tell anyone about it. Lucille, still puzzled by why his level remains at 1 despite his progress, checks his status. Although his skills have improved, his level hasn't changed. The Pope points out that Lucille added a new job, and his status now shows powerful skills and titles like Shaper of Destiny and Dragonslayer. Lucille then realizes that the mysterious drink, Substance X, which gave him an advantage, is also preventing him from leveling up. To celebrate Lucille's achievement, the Pope announces a grand ceremony. Lucille is promoted to S-rank healer, a title equivalent to a bishop, and given special privileges. During the ceremony, Lucille gives a speech, sharing his vision for improving the church's healing services. He bravely addresses the issue of corruption in the profession and vows to create fair guidelines for medical fees. His bold words surprise everyone, but Lucille stands firm, showing his commitment to change. The scene ends with Lucille, once an ordinary salaryman, now a powerful healer ready to take on new challenges. He feels a sense of excitement and purpose, knowing that his journey is just beginning and that he can make a real difference in this magical world.